So good afternoon, everyone. We are now at the end of the week, class 5 for our Lunch and Learn Spinal Cord Education Program. I thank you so much for joining us this week. This is a class transition to home that speaks to it brings together all of the talks that we had this week and how we kind of summarize everything in our transition to home talk that's today. Again, this is JeMitchell. I am the Spinal Cord Program Coordinator. It's great to have you with us today. So let's get started. So this is a video that I'm going to play, and the one takeaway that I ask you to think about from this video is preparation. Remember that, preparation. It's about being prepared and having everything in place for when you go home, to make sure that you have access to your home, to make sure that you have food in your home, to make sure that your utilities are working in your home. Are your prescriptions being delivered to your home, or is your family or friends, caregivers, picking those medications up from your pharmacy? Do you know the equipment that's delivered to your home? Do you know the equipment company and their contact information in the event that something may happen with your equipment that you might not understand and that you would need to call the equipment company? Do you have home care services coming to your home? What's the name of that agency? What are they providing? How often are they coming to your home? Do you have that information? How about supplies? Perhaps you have a wound, or perhaps you use a catheter, or you use intermittent catheterization. Do you have the name of the company that's delivering those supplies to your home? Do you know how to contact them? Do you know when the delivery is expected? Do you know what's going to be delivered? These are just very simple bullet points that you need to know about before you hit the ground running and getting home. So let me place this video going, get this video going, and we will go from there. Take a listen.
Leaving hospital after any length of stay can be daunting, particularly if you have pain or limited mobility. Planning ahead can make your transition from hospital seamless and safe. Here are 5 things you can do. 1. Talk to your doctor. Before you go to hospital, ask your doctor what to expect during your recovery and what type of support you might need once you get home. Ask when you will be able to drive or return to work and how to access any special services you may need. If you have a planned admission, consider making a GP appointment in advance. It can be difficult to see a GP at short notice once you are discharged from hospital. 2. Arrange transport. After your hospital stay, you are likely to have pain and some restricted mobility. So as well as arranging someone to take you home from hospital, ask family and friends if they can help you get around to your appointments until you can drive. If you don't have family or someone to support you, ask your GP or nurse about options in your area. 3. Set up your house. In the early stages of recovery, you may need to make some temporary changes to your home, such as changing where you sleep or organising a shower chair. So set these up for yourself in advance. Ask a friend or family member to come and stay with you. This is a great way to help you get back to your normal activities safely. 4. Prepare your meals. Use the time before you go into hospital to stock up the pantry and fill your freezer with nutritious and easy to reheat meals. This will help you get the nutrients you need to heal and recover. There are also meal providers available who can do fresh and frozen meal delivery to match your budget and food preferences. Ask your GP or nurse about who can help you with delivered meals in your area. 5. Get a discharge plan. Before you leave hospital, make sure you have your discharge plan. A discharge plan is written information about managing your medications, any special exercise you need to do, accessing home care or community care services, looking after your wound, and when to see the doctor or another health professional. Be sure to ask for clarification if there is anything you don't understand. So, to manage your return home from hospital, remember to talk to your doctor, arrange transport, set up your house, prepare your meals, get a copy of your discharge instructions in writing. Planning ahead and being informed can make all the difference to a safe and speedy recovery.
So that video, as I said, is a video that kind of reminds you to be prepared for going home. And some of those points, having a copy of your discharge summary, you will be given a copy of your discharge summary. The medications are electronic, but again, as I said, please make sure that you know who is receiving your medications at the pharmacy, or you're having your pharmacy deliver those. The point as we transition over to the inpatient rehab team, all of these individuals on our team are assisting you with the transition to home. I want to point out case management, because the case manager is kind of at the hub of the wheel. And that person speaks with the physician and all the members on this rehabilitation team. So your case manager, along with your attending physician, will make sure that all the things that you need in order to go home, whether it's transportation, as that video spoke about, making sure you have home care services in place, making sure you have your supplies, your equipment. If you're going to outpatient, that you have that outpatient schedule. So that case manager is really very pivotal. So please make sure while you're here that you stay in close contact with your case manager, so that she or he can assist you with all these moving parts in order to get home. We just spoke about case manager, and that case manager really early on identifies the needs of the patient and the family, and they provide resources and information for transition to home. Team conferences are a great vehicle for communication, and weekly team conferences are held for each patient. So please make sure you know the date and time of your team conference meeting. And the case manager is also in charge of referrals to vendors for services at home, whether it's equipment at home, whether it's supplies, nursing supplies needed at home, whether it's home care services at home, outpatient services. All of those referrals are taken care of by the case manager. So home care support services, that's one of the toughest topics that I speak about, because commercial insurance and Medicare oftentimes do not support the type of services that a patient may need in the home, particularly attendant care. So getting meal preparation done, helping with dressing, helping with getting a shower done. They help for just so long under Medicare and under commercial insurance, but then after a period of time, then the services are no longer in place. There are wonderful state waiver programs. I'm familiar with the waiver program in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. In our state here in New Jersey, the waiver program is known as MLTSS, and that's a medical service program for nursing home type patients, but in the home. So if you are a patient that is covered by New Jersey Medicaid, New York Medicaid, Pennsylvania Medicaid. Please make sure you speak to your case manager about some of these services that are part of the New Jersey, New York, or Pennsylvania Medicaid program for home services. Vendors are an extension of what we do here at Kessler. They partner with us to assist our patients out in the community. So we need to know that our vendors are performing in the way that we need them to. Good customer service skills, timely delivery of equipment, and should any issue with your equipment happen in the community, to make sure that they respond to you. So our vendors are very important to our team, and we want to make sure that they are helping you in the community with equipment or nursing supplies or enteral supplies or respiratory care in the community. Respiratory, as I just mentioned, is probably one of the respiratory vendors are probably one of the most important vendors we deal with, because in order to prepare for a patient that may be using a ventilator for respiratory care and support, the respiratory company will come out to your home and complete an evaluation of the electrical outlets and support in your home to make sure there's enough circuits. So the respiratory vendor is one of our most important vendors to do this home visit before you get home and make sure everything's in place for your transition back to home. These are fantastic financial assistance programs that my patients over the years we have utilized for them. SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance. It's for those individuals that have been working in the community for an extended period of time and they've paid enough units into Social Security to qualify for SSDI. The application can be done online. And now in our virtual world that we're in right now, there will be a virtual meeting with you and your family and the caseworker at Social Security Disability in order to finish the application. The same thing goes with Supplemental Security Income. That's a Medicaid program, or SSI. That application can also be initiated online and then a virtual meeting set up to complete the application. PAAD is one of my favorite programs. That's pharmaceutical assistance for the aged and disabled. For those individuals that may not be able to afford their equipment, PAAD may be a program for you. PASP, another great service in New Jersey. There's also an equivalent service in New York. It is a personal assistant service program. And in order to qualify for the program, you need to be either going back to school, going back to work, or volunteering. And you may not necessarily need to volunteer on site at whatever community program that you may be volunteering at. It could be virtual. You could be working from home, assisting that organization. But those are the three ways to qualify for PASP, and you can hire your own caregivers through the PASP program. But again, in order to qualify for PASP, you must be either going back to school, going back to work, or volunteering for an organization in your community. DVRS, which is the New Jersey Division of Vocational Rehabilitation Services, is a fantastic program. We have a vocational resource rehabilitation counselor on our unit, Adria D. Simone. She does not cover all counties in the state of New Jersey, but certainly reach out to her or reach out to your case manager and say, I'm kind of interested about vocational rehabilitation. I'm interested in going back to school. I'm interested in going back to work, and I have these goals. So I'd like to meet with our vocational rehabilitation counselor. So they'll get a referral off to Adria and she can assist you. And if you're not in a county that she represents, she can certainly give you the assistance of the DVR office in the community that you live in. Housing is probably one of the toughest questions that I've gotten over the years as a case manager. Section 8 housing is income verified, as well as HUD housing, which is a federal program. Section 8 is a Medicaid program in the state of New Jersey. Both programs are income verified, so be prepared to have all of your financial documentation available when you apply for Section 8. Please don't be daunted by the long lists of names in these housing authorities, because oftentimes some of those individuals that are on the list may no longer be interested in Section 8 housing. Maybe they've moved away. Maybe they've located other kinds of housing. So don't be daunted by the long list. Just get your name on the list and start the process going. I love Cheshire Home. Cheshire Home is a transitional living facility, and they are located in Florham Park, New Jersey. That's about 20 minutes or so from West Orange. And it is a small facility, about 35 beds. And the great thing about Cheshire Home is that it's kind of a place to go when you may not have your home modified yet, or maybe perhaps you don't have your caregivers in place and you have continued goals of rehab. Maybe you have goals to go back to school or going back to work. Well, they have a vocational resource counselor on site, and they can assist you with those goals of going back to school or going back to work. So Cheshire Home, boy, I wish there were more transitional living centers in New Jersey. There's just none except for Cheshire Home. So speak to your case manager for assistance with that. I also have information as well, and I can assist you. If you're a veteran, wow, if you're a veteran, there's a home care program assistance for veterans. The East Orange VA is right around the corner. There's another one in Lyons, New Jersey, and there are services available for veterans. In addition, if you are a veteran, there's also ramping assistance through different veteran programs. So if you need a ramp for your home and you're a veteran, your case manager can connect you to those resources for home improvements. You know, these obstacles and challenges of insurance, I hate to be the bearer of bad tidings, but it just seems over the years, despite us all, you know, diligently paying for our health insurance, the coverage for some of the services that we may need seem to be shrinking. So I really should change that picture. It's not a big bag of money anymore that gentleman should be carrying in that little picture there, because the bag of money is shrinking as days go on. So check with your case manager and make sure what your coverage is for home care services, for durable medical equipment, for nursing supplies, transportation, because there are limitations with Medicare, especially with some commercial programs. So please make sure you find out by talking to your case manager what exactly is covered and in what amount are you covered for some of the equipment or home care services, outpatient care that you may need. Caregivers, well, another obstacle, because as I said in the earlier slide, Medicare doesn't really cover day-to-day activities that a spinal cord injury patient may need, which is attended help, a help with shower, a help with getting dressed, with meal preparation. Medicare is just an intermittent home care program. And then after 6-8 weeks, it seems to just kind of drift away. Commercial programs as well are very limited. I will say it's good to talk to your case manager if you are covered by a commercial program like Horizon Blue Cross, Aetna, United Healthcare. Speak to your case manager and find out if under your home care benefit, do you have what's called a private duty nurse benefit or a PDN? Because if you do have a PDN or a private duty nurse benefit, you could qualify for up to 24 hours a day of a registered nurse to come to your home to assist with skilled services that you may need. Maybe you have wound care, maybe you have a trach, maybe you're receiving your nutrition by a peg tube in your abdomen. So you need to speak with your case manager and find out exactly what home care services are covered under your insurance program. Home access, we were talking a little earlier about that. Most insurance companies do not cover for home modification. So if you need your bathroom renovated, if you need a ramp, if you need your doors widened, most insurance companies don't cover that. If you are covered with a New Jersey Medicaid insurance, you might want to speak to your case manager and see if there's any ramping coverage under the waiver program or door widening, because under MLTSS, otherwise known as Global Options back in the day, there is some coverage for ramping and door widening. There are also some communities that do assist the residents of the community with ramping. So a good thing to do is to call your township government, your township authority, and find out if there's any services for covering ramps to your home. You can also call your county division on aging and see if any of the towns in your county cover ramping or door widening, because maybe your town is one of the lucky towns that has that coverage. So think about some of those ways that you can get coverage for ramping or door widening, but the Office on Aging in the county you live in, or calling up your township government and see if there's any services before you take that cost upon yourself. So in the early weeks of your rehab program, housing forms are issued to you and your family and or caregivers. And these forms help us to understand a little bit more about what your home or your apartment is all about. So once these forms are completed by your family or your caregiver, and this form really speaks to measuring door frames, hallways, what is your bathroom all about, what the size of the bathroom is, what your kitchen, what your living room is all about. It's important for us to kind of know what your home is all about so that we can complete a report with recommendations for home accessibility. So these forms are issued in the first 2 weeks of admission, and then a report is generated from the feedback from those forms. If your family or caregivers can take pictures, digital pictures are certainly appreciated. So please make sure that you speak to your occupational therapist about a home accessibility report. But in order to complete the report, the housing forms need to be completed first. So here's this big team that we have here at Kessler Institute. And this is a team approach with discharge planning. So you will interact with all these members of our team. If you are an individual that may be using a wheelchair for functional mobility, you may have the wheelchair company come to Kessler, and you, along with our seating team, will meet with that company to finalize a prescription for your wheelchair. But please make sure that you've had contact with your case manager who can explain a little bit in depth some of the services that you will be involved with in order to prepare for discharge home. Perhaps you were involved in an activity before your injury. Maybe there were leisure activities you were interested in, fishing, golf. Maybe you like to play the piano. Maybe you like to paint or any other activity Speak with Katie Byrne, who's our recreational therapist. You can speak to Chris Burney as well, who's our art therapist, because there is a whole host of adaptive sports and leisure activity that are happening out in the community. I have a lot of information in my office about adaptive sports and leisure activities and community outings. So please make sure you either speak to your case manager, you can stop by my office as well, speak to Katie Byrne, our recreational therapist, who can provide you that information regarding adaptive sports and other leisure activities and outings in your community. Also, perhaps you may be getting a little fearful or maybe a little anxious about going home. Speak to your physician, who can refer you to either Dr. Joyce Fichtenbaum or Dr. Kimberly McGuire, who are our two psychologists assigned to the spinal cord program. So it's normal to have some feelings of concern or anxiousness. So please make sure you speak to your attending about that, and he or she will refer you to Dr. Joyce or Dr. Kim. Home care costs, oh my goodness, it seems to be going up and up and up. You know, some of those costs that you see at the bottom of the page, you know, $70 an hour to $100 an hour to hire a nurse at home, or a social worker, or a physical therapist, occupational therapist. It's expensive. A home health aide hourly can cost, you know, I think $10 is a little bit low. I think it's more the average of $15 to $25 an hour. So if you are an individual that may not be able to afford some of these costs, there is an alternative. And that's the new caregivers. And I've come to acquaint myself with new caregivers who are just individuals in your community that you may not even know about. Maybe there's family friends and friends of your friends that may be looking to, you know, be employed by you to assist you with activities of daily living. Medicaid does have a pretty generous home care program, but if you have Medicare or Blue Cross Blue Shield or United Healthcare or one of these others, you know, home care is just not covered as well as it used to be. So I see this as a case manager. The future trend just seems to be more and more in the direction of hiring private caregivers to assist individuals at home. And these expenses are paid for by the family or by you or your caregivers by and large. But this is the face of the new caregiver. How do I start to find a caregiver? Like, where do I start to find that? So maybe perhaps you might consider hiring a family or a family member or some friends. But before you do that, make sure you kind of know you. What does that mean? But just know what your likes and dislikes are. Know what type of personality of a caregiver that you would be interested in pursuing. Newspaper ads, flyers, word of mouth. Many of my patients over the years that may live near a college that has a nursing program have used their employment boards and have found nursing students that are working, you know, wanting to work part-time. So perhaps that may be a way for you to find a caregiver. How about the internet? Now with social media platforms like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you can send a message out to your followers and say, hey, I'm looking for a caregiver. Can you help? Maybe it's your religious organization that that you can call and see if there are any individuals that are looking for employment in healthcare and wanting to be a caregiver. And as I said, social media, because those platforms are very strong. I tell a funny story about how one of my patients his sons found a caregiver on Craigslist. And I was like, oh my goodness, Craigslist. But nonetheless, that caregiver was fantastic. So use all the resources that you have at hand to find a good caregiver. Maybe perhaps a 24-hour caregiver is what you're looking for. but that comes with a lot of responsibilities as well. You'll need to be sharing your home with your caregiver. What does that look like? Do you have space for a caregiver to live 24 hours? Do you want your caregiver to be helping with housekeeping tasks? Know that that caregiver is going to need days off. And how are you going to receive that assistance while your caregiver is off? Maybe perhaps you don't like smoking in your home. So you need to find a caregiver that will abide by some of those rules. So think about all of these different things before you go into 24-hour caregiver arrangement. Some questions to ask when you're interviewing that caregiver. How many years of education do you have in healthcare? What work have you done in the past and that you like the most? Do you have experience being around someone with a physical challenge? How about driving, back and forth, to my home, or maybe perhaps I have appointments that may be, a bit of a distance that I need to go to. Are you comfortable with driving my my van or my accessible vehicle? Maybe perhaps I have to get up in the middle of the night for a wait shift. Are you okay with getting up in the middle of the night? Maybe I need some help and lifting may be required. So think about these questions when you're interviewing for a 24-hour caregiver. Many of the caregivers over the years have said, you know what, Jane, it's really tough being a caregiver. I love my patient, the person that I help, but I feel sometimes kind of alone. I feel kind of isolated. I don't know a lot of people in the community. I don't get out much. I may not, I don't have a vehicle with which to go and meet other people. But just know that there's a lot of help in the community for caregivers and a lot of services that can help you and your caregiver have a good relationship. There's great training programs in the community. Let's say that your caregiver, there's a new equipment, an assistive technology that they're not familiar with. So there's training services in the community to help them kind of get up to speed with some of those things. The National Caregivers Association is a fantastic organization, and I always refer caregivers to that organization because there's a whole host of information on that website. Let's say you and your caregiver are not getting along so well. There's individual counseling and groups, support groups, and family counseling that's available out in the community. So just know that there is help to the rescue for your caregiver if they start feeling a little bit alone and feeling a little bit frustrated, or maybe you're frustrated with them. So just know there's a lot of support services in the community for caregiver and caregiver relationships with you. I talked earlier about DVR, Vocational Rehabilitation Services, and our counselor, Adria D. Simone, who's fantastic. And if you live in a county that she serves, she may meet with you and ask some information about your medical history, your education, your work experience, any family or social issues that are challenging you right now, and what are your personal goals and interests. And if she's able to, and you live in one of these counties, she'll help design a step-by-step plan to meet your needs that she's identified in the initial interview. She can talk to you about the funding services, about DVR. It's a federal program across all 50 states. So the DVR funds, if you're going back to school or going back to work, the funds may help you with adaptive equipment you may need, or maybe further training that you may require, or maybe funding for a computer. Let's say you don't have a computer and you're looking to get into computer work, or maybe there's on-site modifications that may be necessary to help you be more comfortable at work and at school if you're pursuing school. So DVR funds are a great way if you have those goals of going back to work or going back to school. Adria can help you complete some job applications, or maybe develop a resume, or some techniques for job interviews or job placement. And if Adria is not participating in one of the counties that you live in, she can connect you to the DVR counselor who can help you with some of these issues as you return back to school or work in the DVR office in your community. I love telehealth, and telehealth back in the day was just a great way to connect individuals that maybe lived far away from hospitals or clinics or other healthcare services. So telehealth has been around for a long time. With COVID, we've all been familiar with utilizing Zoom and GoToMeeting and FaceTime, which is a telehealth way of meeting with our physicians or our clinicians in the community for care at home. So COVID has kind of brought telehealth up to the forefront. So let's say your home isn't quite ready yet. Maybe the modifications, the workmen haven't moved along fast enough, and maybe your caregivers can't start quite quickly enough. Maybe then you'll be transitioning from Kessler to a subacute rehabilitation setting until your home modifications and your caregivers are in place. Or maybe you're able to get back to your home, but you don't have transportation ready yet. So maybe you'll have a home care program with nursing and physical therapy coming to your home. There are long-term care programs if you think that for a while, it may take you a while to get back home. There are daycare programs that are fantastic if your family members are working and you need some assistance during the day. There are some day programs that are fantastic. So talk to your case manager a little bit about what program will work best for you. Our outpatient services are many in West Orange. We have a wonderful spasticity and pain management program. Dr. Joe Valenza is our pain specialist in our outpatient West Orange clinic. There's vestibular training for those individuals that may have some issues with balance and other issues related to that. Wheelchair and specialty seating. When your wheelchair is scripted while you're an inpatient, you'll get a call from the staff in our wheelchair clinic when your wheelchair is being delivered, and your seating will be finalized. We have a great urology program with Dr. Todd Linsenmeyer. We have driver retraining with Dr. I'm sure he'd like to be a doctor, but Rich Need is our driving specialist. And after you complete your outpatient physical therapy, occupational therapy program, you can speak to your therapy staff and see if maybe you're ready to be a driver again. And Rich Need would be the person that would manage that service for you. You know, the Americans with Disability Act, passed in 1990, is a great law that bans discrimination against people with disabilities and physical challenges. And it requires places of lodging or restaurants or public gathering, events, service establishment, and also places of education. It requires access for all individuals with any form of disability or physical challenge. It's a great law. It's really helped a lot of my patients over the years, but the ADA is just one of those laws that are just put in place, and thank goodness for that, because it does assist individuals knowing that they can access their community as an able-bodied person. This is one of my favorite topics, is disaster preparedness, because you never know when your power is going to go out, or you have a flood in your community and you have to evacuate your home quickly. And here in New Jersey, with Superstorm Sandy and Hurricane Irene and all of these events that we've had in the last 10, 15 years, you really have to take this seriously. I encourage you to do that. You need to have a disaster plan and know where your accessible shelters are, or another home you can go to in the event of an emergency. Have a network of family or friends that you can get to in the event of an emergency. Know where your closest healthcare facilities are. Make sure that the police, fire, and rescue squad know that you are in the community so they can come to your rescue. Speak to your case manager about that. She or he should be contacting those community organizations before your discharge so that they know that you are in the community. Have a portable disaster kit. I'll talk a little bit about that in the next slide. Perhaps a portable generator. I know my family had to go out and get one of those because if your power goes out, you really need to be able to access your electricity and all the needs in your house. So here's a great video that will play that speaks to disaster preparedness. So I invite you to just listen along for a few minutes as we get into this video clip.
Hello, I'm Preparedness. Him? That's disaster. He doesn't have too much to say. He's been hanging around more and more, although he's usually not this easy to spot. He's a busy guy. He's always up to something. You know, he's taught me a few lessons, like if you know when and where he'll show up, it's easier to take action. But it's those unexpected visits that do the most damage. And that's normally how he works. It's not like he's in the habit of calling ahead.
Hey, Disaster here. Yeah, I was wondering if you're available for a chemical spill. Wednesday, maybe 1 o'clock? No? No good? Oh, I got a new thing I'm bringing in. Earthquakes. You'll love it. I'm shipping them in from the West Coast. No?
Dan, it's not like he's always there, constantly reminding you to be prepared and to get ready. If he were this annoying, I'm sure you'd be ready for him. But being ready for disaster, well, that's your responsibility. I mean, you go to great lengths to get yourself ready for far less serious threats. It's a good look for you. Disaster is always out there, plotting everything from tornadoes to terrorist attacks to who knows what. But there are a few simple steps you can take to keep him in his place. Have an emergency kit, keep it stocked, and know exactly where it is. Have an emergency plan and share it with your family, your friends, and your neighbors. And know the potential threats in your area. And be prepared with at least a couple of ways to stay informed. Sure, he looks big and scary, and you can't stop him from showing up. But take it from Preparedness. You and your family can handle whatever disaster dishes out. Have a kit, make a plan, and stay informed. Visit preparemetrokc.org. For more details on how to keep disaster in his place. All right, people, let's get this mess cleaned up. Oh.
Okay, so that's a funny video. I like it. It's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but the main point is being prepared for a disaster, because that's a serious consequence for anybody. So please make sure that you take some of these disasters that are happening and you hear about them in the news and on media. Just please make sure that you have a plan and you stick to that. So a go bag, and we have go bags here, so let me know if you would like to have one. We start our go bag with catheter supplies, either Foley catheter if you're a user of a Foley catheter, or intermittent catheterization. So We have go bags here all started up with catheter supplies, but in that go bag, you need to include a week's supply of your medication, a flashlight and fresh batteries, water and copies of your prescriptions, transistor radio with fresh batteries, non-perishable foods, and extra medical supplies and clothing. You should have this bag by the door that you exit your home. Because let's say something happens, the power goes out in your home, or someone's knocking at your door saying, you've got to get out of this house, the water main broke down the street. You need to get going, and you need to have that bag by your door ready to leave and in a moment's notice. So please take having a go bag very seriously. So wow, you've graduated. 5 classes, 5 days. This is a short list of some of the contacts on our spinal cord team, both here at Kessler Institute and also at Kessler Foundation. Please know that if you need any assistance, please don't struggle on your own. Please make sure that before your discharge, you have the telephone extension of both of our nursing units. So if you ever have any questions, just know we're here to answer those questions. We take having your care and our responsibility for your care very seriously. So once a Kessler patient for life. With that said, I thank our wonderful team here at Kessler Institute, Rob DeLuca, our research assistant, Brittany Morona at Kessler Foundation, Jean Valenti, our director of Think First, who you spoke and saw on Tuesday and Thursday for her lectures. Of course, Ron Moore, who spoke on Monday in the intro class. Dr. Trevor Dyson Hudson, our wonderful contact and director of Center for Spinal Cord Injury Research at the Kessler Foundation. Dr. Jean Zanka as well, who's a research scientist at Kessler Foundation. JeMitchell Williams, thanking him as well, who opens our Zoom meeting rooms, and he's a wonderful peer mentor as well. We thank JeMitchell and a whole host of other people at the foundation I may not be remembering, but we thank them as well. Should you have any questions, I think Rob DeLuca will be circulating around for those iPads. We thank you so much for attending our classes this week. Dr. Trevor Dyson Hudson, I see that you're there. If you want to jump in for any closing remarks, please do so.
Thanks so much, Jane. Can you see me or hear me?
I can see you and hear you.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much. And thank you so much for participating in the classes. To reiterate what Jane is saying, please feel free to call me. My number's listed there, my email's there. If you have any, I have just for those, again, as a reminder, I have a spinal cord injury myself. I've been injured, hard to believe, 29 years. I was injured when I was 27 years old while playing rugby in medical school. And, after I did my rehabilitation, I went back and went back on with my life. So I still, even though it's been 29 years, I still remember, being an inpatient and the challenges and how overwhelming it was. And, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was take it one day at a time and just make the most of what function you have. And, each day will come and hopefully things improve, and that's your goal. So please feel free to reach out to me if you have any spinal cord injury related questions, around having an injury and just some of the challenges you face, bowel, bladder, pressure injuries, any number of things, as well as research. I am the director for the Center of Spinal Cord Injury Research. So I'm happy to tell you about, the research we're doing here at Kessler Foundation and Kessler Institute. There's a lot of different studies going on. in all kinds of different areas, as well as clinical trials going on around the world. There's some great resources, but you have to be cautious, be careful, and whenever you look into any clinical trial. So again, please feel free to call me on my phone number or email. Thanks, Jane.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Trevor. And I thank you all again for attending our classes this week. Please, if you have any questions, I know my extension is listed right there. Robin Bischoff, who's on vacation this week, her extension is listed as well. The extension for the nurse unit, I want to give that to you as well. The extension is 2263. The extension for the South Nursing Unit is 2532. Make sure you have those, or your family members, make sure they have that right in sight in the event you ever have any emergency or challenge, that you have questions that you want answered. The Kessler number is 973-731-3600. And then just either use extension 2263 or 2532. I'm here Wednesday through Friday from about 10 a.m. until about 5 p.m. Or a little bit later. So if you ever have any questions, please stop by my office. It's right adjacent to the South Nursing Unit. So feel free to stop by anytime. I'm going to close off for today. I thank Dr. Trevor for administrating our Zoom room today. I thank Rob DeLuca for helping with our iPads and all our technical challenges that sometimes we have. So I thank you so much for that. And I will see you soon.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Take care.